Hey, welcome back to our Retire Early lifestyle. 11 years ago, we set out to go abroad just like a lot of people have been doing for the last several years and are still doing, in just various parts of the globe. And so having lived abroad and traveled the globe actually in the last 11 years, been on several continents, and not as a tourist, we spent 8 years in Ecuador, and we spent several months at a time in a lot of other places. So it wasn't one of these 1 week things. And everywhere we went, we always did our best to live with locals, in the middle of locals, like locals. As opposed to having avocado toast in the middle of the tourist section of Lisbon, Portugal, and calling that going local. But we wanted to set ourselves apart and say the things that nobody else was saying in order to achieve a balance. Our goal was to balance things out. You've got a scale, and if everything is on one side, there's no real balance there. That's why today I'm going to give you 5 things to consider if you're still wondering about including going abroad as part of your retire early or just adventure time of your life. Number 1 is that expectations, and it isn't that people just sit there and write out a list of expectations. I think that there's an assumed expectation in the sense that our life experience up until now, we've taken certain things for granted to always be the same way, and therefore when we go abroad, we have an implied assumption that we carry with us that we're not expecting things to be dramatically different. Thanks to all the blogging and all the people in this space, there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of it that is common knowledge. But today we're talking about the side that isn't such common knowledge, and one of them is we carry with us this implied expectation. That means
disappointment.
That means number 2, if you're not watching yourself on this and realizing that, you know what, honey? There's probably going to be things that people just don't talk about, and we're not going to like. That's the way to look at it. That's the way to look at it. And that way, when that comes up, it's like you're not shocked. It's not so much that you have to be shocked. It's just like in the U.S. Constitution, where it says a long train of abuses that people, I'm paraphrasing, are most likely to ignore and just kind of put up with over a long period of time. That's what it feels like. You get one little disappointment, you ignore it, then you get another one, then you get another one, and then pretty soon you've got a dozen of them, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh. You've got to do this thing with rhinoceros skin. Number 3, one of these things along the same lines of expectations is imagine the very thing that you enjoy. I was just watching a video of a 109-year-old guy, and he was telling everyone a little bit about his life. And one of the things I noticed was that every day, and I mean every day, he does a little something pleasurable that he gets enjoyment out of. So if there is a disappointment, it's balanced out by that thing that and for him it was he would have a couple tablespoons of ice cream every night, and he wasn't gorging on it, but every night he would have a couple tablespoons. But the point being that every day you find some enjoyment regardless of your situation in life, and that's what we do. And so can you imagine if this fellow goes abroad and then can't get that thing that he's used to? That was my point. Again, go back to number 1. We have the implied expectation things are going to be the same because we have a sense that the world is pretty much mostly have been developed. And yet we met a couple that left Cuenca, Ecuador because she couldn't get the special pie filling, which, we just make our own pie filling. We buy apples and make thing that you really enjoy, and you don't realize that when you get out there, then you end up having to give it up, and it could be a real hurt, you know, a psychological.
What about the guy that couldn't get his brand of hot dogs in the Philippines or whatever? His wife
Bologna,
said,
it was bologna.
His wife said that they left because of that.
Well, when things start turning, and that's number 4, we tend to have a mental ledger of pluses and minuses, and when we first get to a place, the mental ledger sways and weighs to the positive. But as the time wears on and you start adding things to the other side of the scale, the other side of the ledger, at some point at first it's overwhelmingly positive, then it's just a slow creep, and then eventually it matches, and then it overtakes. It can, for some people, over the negative side overtakes the positive side, and at that point we start finding reasons like, well, I can't get the very thing that really bothers you, that you were sweeping under the rug, starts coming to the surface now, like, well, I can't get my favorite bologna, or I can't get my favorite ice cream, or I can't order anything on Amazon, or I can't, whatever it is, fill in the blanks. And number 5 is,
well, you need to learn to be adaptable to those things. And we have become that way. We're very adaptable now and don't care what they don't have in the store. We just substitute for something else, or we make our own.
Being adaptable, and that implies a mental flexibility. One of the great things about travel in general, not just crossing borders abroad, but even in your own country, is just having to be, on a regular basis, having to make changes and adaptations. You just get out of that stodgy, things have to be this way kind of way of looking at things, and it just causes you to become a little more flexible perhaps than you were before. And I know that some people will say, well, if you go to this place, it's not like that, or if you go to that place, it's not like that. That's what we thought. We've heard all the things, all the lovely postcard pitches that have become cliches, like, if it's your first time abroad, go to Panama, it's more like America, and this and that. Well,
Salinas, Ecuador is like Miami.
Yeah, the new Miami, Salinas, Ecuador. It's just silly mantras like this that people use in their pitches. I'm not saying there aren't a lot of things in Panama City that remind us of being in North America. There is. But yet we've made videos about being in Panama where we couldn't get any dairy. Their dairy section was laughable, and even their natural foods was laughable after we made several videos, which I highly encourage people to do, other bloggers, to talk about the deficiencies, because eventually they started changing and they started including like fresh milk. You couldn't get any fresh milk in Panama City at all. You would think that a big capital city like Panama City, you would have been able to get things like that, but no, you could not, until after videos were made exposing and highlighting the deficiencies. We went into detail on the fact that they didn't have any milk other than ultra pasteurized, homogenized, everything but just normal pasteurized milk anywhere in the city, anywhere. And now we see that has changed. We see that we can get pasteurized milk. It's still homogenized, guys, but hey, we're not complaining at this point. At least we are getting some options here. Happy to see it. So little by little we're making improvements, and that just happened to be the one thing that I like to get, because I make kefir and I make fermented cheeses and all these kinds of things I like to do in the kitchen that I couldn't do. And Baja's the same way. Their dairy section here is laughable too. So it's not, and it's for somebody else that doesn't give a hoot about dairy. They'll be like, oh, whatever, But don't worry, something else will crop up that applies to your list.
Maybe it's apple pie fueling.
And I'll tell you, the best dairy we've ever seen was in Bulgaria. Bulgaria had, was it Bulgaria or Georgia, hon?
It was both. They both had all the yogurts and the kefirs and the
their
stuff
yogurts section was like a whole side of the wall with, like, I don't know how many dozens of different kinds of yogurts. And you could get sheep yogurt, you could get different amounts of fats, and some people won't care about this stuff. Just saying though, if that's important to you, that's an amazing thing.
If food is important to you, Poland has it all.
Poland had it all. They really did. But what was lacking in Poland? Well, they have snowy winters.
That's it. That was all.
So that knocks out most Californians, because they're looking for, you know, to replace California. That's why they go to Lisbon, Portugal. So in every one of these countries, there was some sort of deficiency, always had to do. And it's not just that they don't have things. For example, when we first landed in Ecuador, their apple juice wasn't real apple juice. So you might have been buying that, and then you find out that you're really just getting sugar-colored water. There's no apple in it. Things like that. Here in Mexico, the other week I bought some what I thought was cream, but it was just maybe some milk parts mixed with lard and salt and chemicals. It
didn't say that on the ingredients.
It was disgusting. But it said it was cream. And so we've seen a little bit of that everywhere we've been. In Georgia, the milk was not trustworthy. Even the locals told us not to buy the lower priced milk because it wasn't real milk. And so you had to go to the most expensive milk in order to get the quality product. And in Ecuador, they mix water with their milk. If you get a milk delivery guy, you know, people get on forums, oh, that sounds so neat, getting a milk delivery guy. Well, half the time you're getting scammed, you know, they're mixing water with it. And so you're getting a diluted product. Here in Mexico, you get a diluted product in the store. So you think, well, I'll just go to the store, I'll avoid that. But you buy the milk there and it's just watery as anything. So anyway, have we lost everybody yet? So at least this way, it adds to our happiness when we can take advantage of transparency.
Or you can just learn to be adaptable like us.
Or you can become so adaptable that you just quit eating and drinking certain things. So all of these things we're talking about, you know, you're just hard-pressed to really find information online over it. And it wasn't our goal with the video to try to make a list of all the things that, you know, it was more of giving you a small sampling of our experiences. And a lot of these, or even all of them, or some of them, won't apply. And so the goal of the video is to let you know that, you know, go back to the beginning, you know, having expectations and being flexible and adaptable. And this way, when your favorite thing happens to be the thing that you can't get or have, or then you'll know where we were coming from on the video, and you'll be like, yeah, they talked about that. All right, well, I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for coming to the channel. Have a wonderful day.